Part 1. Before the storm. I never thought I'd start keeping a diary at 38. At this age, you're supposed to be out jogging before work, or sitting at a bar with a beer after a long day, or playing with your kid in the yard, but not sitting late at night in front of a blank screen, trying to break down your life into letters. But I have to. I need to get it out of my head, try to make sense of myself. My name is Matt. I work as a manager at a large logistics company. It sounds solid, but in reality, my workday is often nothing but endless chaos. Dozens of emails, urgent orders, warehouse problems, nervous drivers, angry clients. Sometimes I think the main requirement for my job isn't knowledge, but nerves of steel. I wake up at 5:45. Always. Even on weekends. Habit. First thing, I go to the kitchen and start the coffee maker. While it brews, I step out onto the porch. Our neighborhood is quiet, especially at that hour. The air is cool and crisp, smelling faintly of pine. It's my short moment of peace before the day begins. Then I head back inside, quietly, so I don't wake Amanda and Ethan. Amanda. Even when I say her name in my head, something warms inside me. We've been together for 11 years. We've been through a lot. Joys, fights, sleepless nights after Ethan was born, setbacks, and small victories. I thought we were a team. That's what I believed family meant. Even when it's hard, we're in it together. When we first met, I was working for a small transport company and living in a rented one-bedroom apartment. She was a waitress at a coffee shop. I didn't even own a car back then. I walked to work. One day, sometime in October, I walked into that cafe. It was cold outside, and I just wanted something hot to drink. She was standing behind the counter in a blue apron, her hair pulled into a messy bun. But even in that simple uniform, she looked stunning. She was laughing at something the barista said. Her laugh was so genuine and light that I wanted to hear it again. That first time, I pretended I just needed a coffee to go, but I stayed at a table by the window anyway, just to watch her. I remember thinking, this girl doesn't belong here. She deserves more. Then I started going there more often. At first once a week, then almost every day. She learned my order, black Americano, no sugar. And she always added a small cookie on the saucer, though I never asked for it. After about a month of these coincidental visits, I finally worked up the courage to ask her out to dinner. She said yes. And from that night on, everything changed. We dated for 2 years, and they were probably the best 2 years of my life. We took trips to the lakes, stayed up late in cheap diners, planned our future. We didn't have money, but we had that feeling that together we could do anything. Our wedding was modest. We didn't have money for a big banquet, so we just gathered close friends and family in a small restaurant. Amanda wore a white dress she rented, but to me, she looked like a queen. When we danced to our first song, I was certain I didn't need anything else in life. 2 years later, Ethan was born. That was the happiest day of my life. I held him in my arms and couldn't believe we had created this little human being. I promised myself then that I would do everything to give him a happy childhood, better than mine. My own childhood wasn't easy. My father was an alcoholic. He'd leave for work in the morning and come home drunk, often taking it out on me and my mother. I always told myself, when I grow up, I'll never be like him. I'll be a different kind of father. And I tried. Everything I do for them, Amanda and Ethan. But over time, I started noticing that Amanda and I were becoming strangers. It didn't happen all at once. At first, it was subtle. She laughed less, told me less about her day, spent more time scrolling through her phone at night. We argued about silly things. Who didn't take out the trash? Who forgot to buy milk? And I always thought, it's normal. Everyone goes through this. We're just tired, but we love each other. I started working even more. Took on extra projects to earn more. I thought, if we can afford vacations, if we remodel the living room, if we get a new car, she'll see that I'm trying. She'll understand that everything I do is for her. This year was our 11th anniversary, and I decided I wanted to do something special. I wanted to remind her that we're not just parents and housemates, that we're husband and wife, partners, lovers. I booked a table at the restaurant where we had our first date. It was expensive, but I wanted it to be special. I bought her a gift, a delicate gold pendant with a small diamond. Not a huge one, but I knew she liked elegant, understated things, not flashy ones. And I decided to surprise her, come home early. I told her I'd be working late, but actually arranged with my colleagues to leave around noon. I wanted to show up at home with flowers, hug her, maybe sit down for coffee together before dinner. A little miracle in the middle of an ordinary day. I remember how long I stood in the flower shop. I looked through dozens of bouquets, but finally chose white lilies. Her favorite. They always reminded me of her, delicate yet proud. Driving home, I kept imagining her face. How surprised she'd be when she saw me with flowers. How she'd smile, like she used to. I even rehearsed what I'd say. Happy anniversary, darling. I thought she'd drop everything and hug me. Those thoughts seemed so warm then. Now they burn. Part 2. The day everything changed. I don't think I'll ever forget that drive home. It's strange. I remember every little detail, as if my brain tattooed them on the inside of my skull. The hum of the car engine. The way the radio quietly played some pop song I can't even name now. The bouquet of lilies on the passenger seat, wrapped in white paper that crinkled every time I made a turn. The small black velvet box with her gift sitting next to them. The sunlight was pouring through the windshield, too bright for that time of year, making me squint. I had to keep adjusting the visor. My hands gripped the steering wheel tighter than usual, though I wasn't in a rush. I kept rehearsing. Happy anniversary, darling. I wanted to surprise you. Let's make tonight about us. Over and over in my head. Like if I said it enough times, it would come out perfectly when I opened the door. I kept picturing her. How she'd look when I walked in. Maybe she'd be wearing that gray robe she loved, hair still damp from a shower. Or maybe in her old college t-shirt and yoga pants, barefoot, curled up on the couch with a book. She'd probably laugh, that soft laugh I hadn't heard in so long, and say something like, "You scared me. I didn't expect you." I'd hand her the flowers, watch her eyes light up, and we'd kiss. In my head, I saw her smiling the way she used to smile at me, the kind of smile that once made me feel like I was her whole world. That drive home, I thought it would be the start of something new. Now I know it was the last stretch of road before my life broke apart. Our house sits in a quiet cul-de-sac. 2 stories, beige siding, white shutters. Nothing fancy, but it's ours. There's a maple tree in the front yard that turns bright red in the fall. Amanda always loved that tree. She said autumn made her feel alive. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed her car parked there. Of course, she was home. She had no idea I'd be there so early. Perfect. I cut the engine and sat for a moment, just looking at the house. The house we built our life in. The house where Ethan took his first steps. Where Amanda and I once spent whole weekends painting walls, assembling furniture, dreaming out loud. I grabbed the bouquet and the small gift box from the passenger seat. My heart was beating fast. Not in fear, anticipation. I stepped out of the car, adjusting my grip on the flowers, and walked up the porch. The wooden steps creaked softly under my weight. For a second, I considered knocking, just to make it playful. But no, this was our home. I had a key. The first thing I noticed when I opened the door was the smell. A mix of fresh laundry and her vanilla-scented candles. Ordinary, familiar, comforting. But then I noticed something else. Silence. Not complete silence. The faint hum of the dishwasher in the kitchen, the low murmur of the TV upstairs. But no Amanda coming to greet me. No footsteps, no voice. "Babe." I called out, my voice soft. Nothing. I set the flowers and the gift box carefully on the entryway table and closed the door quietly behind me. Maybe she was upstairs, reading, or napping, or in the shower. I smiled to myself, thinking how surprised she'd be when I walked in with flowers. I started up the stairs, my shoes making soft thuds against the wood. As I climbed, I noticed something odd. The TV was on, but the volume was low, and underneath it, faint sounds. A laugh. That laugh. It froze me in place. It wasn't the laugh of someone watching TV. It wasn't a distracted chuckle. It was soft, intimate, familiar in a way I hadn't heard in a long time. I stood there on the stairs, suddenly aware of my heart pounding in my chest, louder than anything else in the house. My brain scrambled for explanations. Maybe her sister dropped by. Maybe a friend. Maybe, but no. There was something in that laugh. Something meant for someone else. I reached the top of the stairs. Our bedroom door was slightly ajar. I don't know why I didn't turn around. Maybe because part of me already knew. Maybe because I had to see it with my own eyes. I pushed the door open, and my world ended. Amanda was there, but not like I imagined when I was driving home. She was on the bed, and she wasn't alone. For a second, my brain refused to process what I was seeing, like my body knew before my mind did. My knees went weak. My mouth went dry. My vision blurred around the edges, tunneling on the scene in front of me. They didn't notice me right away. I don't know how long I stood there. A second? 10? An eternity? And then Amanda looked up. Her face changed instantly, from whatever she'd been feeling in that moment to pure, frozen horror. "Matt," she breathed. My name, like it could explain everything, like it could undo what I'd just seen. The man, I didn't even process his face. Some stranger. He scrambled, muttered something, grabbed his clothes. I didn't move. I couldn't. My body was numb, my mind blank except for one echoing thought. This can't be real. Amanda scrambled off the bed, fumbling for her robe. "Matt, it's not what? Not what I saw." I turned away. My legs moved on autopilot. I walked out of the room, down the stairs. "Matt, wait. Please." Her voice followed me, frantic, but I didn't stop. I don't remember how I got to the front door. I don't remember picking up the flowers or the gift, but I must have, because when I finally snapped back into my body, I was standing in the driveway, holding them both. I stared at the lilies. White petals. Still perfect. Still beautiful. Untouched by what just happened. I dropped them. They fell onto the concrete, the stems bending, petals scattering. I wanted to scream. I wanted to smash something, but I couldn't even breathe. I don't know how long I sat in my car before driving away. Minutes? Hours. My phone buzzed nonstop, "Amanda," but I couldn't answer. Instead, I drove. No destination, just away. Away from that house, from that room, from that version of my life that had just been set on fire. I pulled over at some point in a grocery store parking lot. Just sat there, staring at nothing. My hands trembled on the steering wheel. Why? The words circled in my mind like a vulture. Why did she do this? What did I do wrong? I worked. I provided. I loved her. Wasn't that enough? And then another thought. What about Ethan? The image of my son hit me harder than anything else. His smile. His little voice calling me Dad. What was I supposed to do now? I don't know how long I sat there, cycling through rage, disbelief, and numbness. At some point, I drove to a cheap motel and checked in under my name. The clerk didn't even look at me. Good. I didn't want to be seen. The room was small, smelled faintly of bleach. I sat on the bed, staring at the wall. My phone buzzed again. "Amanda." Dozens of missed calls, texts. "Please call me. I can explain." "Matt, please." Explain? There's no explanation for this. I tossed the phone onto the nightstand and buried my face in my hands. It was our anniversary. Our anniversary. And I came home with flowers and a gift. only to find my wife with someone else. That night, I didn't sleep. I just sat there, in that cheap motel room, replaying it over and over in my head. Her laugh, the look on her face when she saw me. By 3 a.m., the text had slowed down. She'd probably fallen asleep. Or maybe she was lying awake too, waiting for me to answer. I wondered if she was crying. I wondered if she cared. Then Ethan's face came to me. My boy. My little boy. How was I supposed to tell him? How was I supposed to look him in the eye and pretend everything was okay when nothing would ever be okay again? And the ugliest thought crept in. If I leave, what happens to him? I couldn't breathe. My chest tightened, my throat burned. I sat up, clutching my head in my hands. I wanted to call someone, a friend, my brother, anyone. But who do you call at 3 a.m. to say, my wife just destroyed my life? There was no one. By dawn, I hadn't slept a minute. My body felt heavy, like I was underwater. I checked my phone again. Dozens more texts. Please come home. Please. We need to talk for Ethan. I made a mistake. Please. A mistake. That's what she called it. Like forgetting to buy milk. Like missing a turn on the road. The sun came up, but I didn't feel it. I was still sitting in that room, stuck between two worlds. The life I had yesterday and the wreckage of what was left of it now. And the question that wouldn't leave me alone. What do I do now? Part 3. The morning after. I didn't sleep. Not a second. I sat on that stiff motel bed all night, listening to the hum of the old air conditioner and the occasional thump of footsteps in the hallway outside. I must have stared at the same patch of ceiling for hours, letting the fluorescent light from the parking lot flicker through the thin curtains and dance across the walls. I kept thinking, maybe this is just some terrible dream. Maybe I'll wake up in our bed, Amanda asleep next to me, Ethan in his room, safe, the world intact. But every time I blinked, I saw it again. The bedroom door, the stranger, her face when she saw me, and the lilies, those damned lilies, crushed on the driveway like they'd never mattered. When the sun came up, it felt wrong. Like the world shouldn't dare to look so normal. The parking lot was empty except for a couple of trucks. Birds chirped like nothing had happened. I hated that. How could everything look so ordinary when my whole life had been ripped in half? I sat up slowly. My body felt heavy, like I hadn't slept in days, though it had only been one night. My mouth was dry. My head ached. My phone was on the nightstand. I didn't want to look at it, but I had to. 37 missed calls. Dozens of unread messages. All from Amanda. I unlocked it and scrolled through. Please talk to me. It's not what it looked like. Matt, I'm so sorry. Please come home. For Ethan. Please. We need to talk. I can't lose you like this. I tossed the phone onto the bed. My hands shook. It's not what it looked like. That phrase looped in my head like a bad joke. What else could it have been? I saw her. I saw him. I saw everything I needed to see. I ran my hands over my face, then through my hair, trying to ground myself. I thought about calling someone. My brother, maybe. Or Jason from work. But what do you say? Hey, good morning, my wife destroyed my life. How's your day going? No, I couldn't. Instead, I just sat there, silent. And then I thought about Ethan. My boy. The image of his face cut through the fog in my brain. His messy brown hair. His gap-toothed smile. The way his small hand feels when it slips into mine. What was I supposed to tell him? I couldn't just disappear. I couldn't leave him with her. But how could I go back there? The thought of walking into that house made me sick. I checked the time. 7:12 a.m. I wondered if Ethan was awake yet. If Amanda had told him anything. Did she even know what to say? The thought of them, my wife, my son, eating breakfast at that kitchen table like nothing had happened, made me want to scream. I stood up and paced the room. Back and forth. My mind kept flipping between two voices. One, you can't forgive this. You can't unsee it. Leave. Pack your things, take Ethan, and go. The other, if you leave, what happens to Ethan? Are you ready to tear his world apart because you can't live with her mistake? Mistake. That's what she'd called it. I hated that word. Around 8:30, my phone buzzed again. A text from her. Please, just tell me you're safe. For Ethan. For Ethan. She kept using him like a lifeline. Like if she said his name enough, I'd come back. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the carpet. I wanted to drive somewhere far. Disappear. Just take Ethan and leave. Start over. But where? And how? And what would that do to him? I grew up in a house broken by my father's choices. I told myself I'd never do that to my kid. But here I was, staring at the very same possibility. My stomach growled. I realized I hadn't eaten in nearly 24 hours. I didn't even feel hungry. Just hollow. I splashed water on my face in the bathroom, brushed my teeth with a cheap toothbrush from the motel front desk. Looking in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. My eyes were bloodshot, my face pale and drawn. Get it together, I whispered to my reflection. You have to figure this out. But I didn't know where to start. At 9 o'clock, my phone rang again. I almost didn't answer, but something in me broke. Amanda, I said. My voice was hoarse. Matt, she breathed, relief flooding her tone. Oh my God. I was so worried. Are you okay? Please just don't. My voice was low, shaking. Don't say anything. Please. Just come home. We need to talk. For Ethan. Stop. I clenched my jaw. You don't get to say his name to me right now. She went quiet. Matt? She whispered after a moment. Please. I can explain. Explain. As if there was an explanation that could erase what I saw. I'll come by, I said finally, surprising even myself. Thank you. Please, Matt, I hung up. I didn't know why I said that. Part of me wanted to see her, to look her in the eyes and demand answers. Another part wanted to hurt her with silence, to make her feel the same emptiness she left in me. But Ethan needed me to go back. I sat in that room for another hour, staring at the phone, at the wall, at nothing. Then I stood up, grabbed my keys, and walked out. The drive home felt different than yesterday. The streets were the same. The houses, the trees. But everything felt foreign, like I was driving through someone else's neighborhood. When I pulled into the driveway, I just sat there, staring at the house. Our house. The place I used to feel safe. Now it felt like a crime scene. I didn't get out right away. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly they hurt. Can I even walk through that door? But then I thought of Ethan, and I forced myself out of the car. I stood at the front door for what felt like an eternity, my hand hovering over the doorknob. The silence in the air was thick, oppressive. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. I felt like I was about to step into the unknown. I wasn't sure what I was walking into, whether she'd be there, crying, begging for forgiveness, or whether she'd already prepared some excuse. What if it's all a lie? What if I can't trust her anymore? I took a deep breath and turned the knob. The door creaked open, as if the house itself was holding its breath. Inside, the house was eerily quiet. The kitchen light was on, and I could see her sitting at the table. Her eyes were red, her face pale. She didn't look up when I walked in. I took a step forward. Amanda, I started, my voice breaking. She looked up, and in her eyes, I saw it. Regret, guilt, fear. But there was something else, too. Something familiar. Something I didn't know if I could ever trust again. Matt, she whispered, standing up. I took a step back, holding up my hand. Don't make excuses. I've seen enough. She winced, the words cutting through her like a knife. Please, Matt, just let me explain. You don't get to explain this, Amanda. Not anymore. She trembled, but there was nothing I could do. I was too far gone. She'd crossed a line that I didn't know how to erase. That was the moment. That was when I realized. The hardest part wasn't seeing the betrayal. It was the moment when I realized I couldn't just walk away. Because in my heart, no matter how broken I felt, I was still her husband. And for Ethan's sake, I couldn't give up just yet. Part 4. The Breaking Point. I sat on the same couch where we once discussed our future plans, dreams that now felt so distant, almost laughable. I looked at Amanda, sitting across from me, and saw the hope in her eyes. She was holding a cup of tea, her fingers trembling, and I noticed her gaze constantly shifting, as if searching for my approval, my permission. The same eyes I had once trusted without hesitation, now full of doubt. She kept saying the same words. I'm ready to change everything. I can be the woman you loved if you give me a chance. Give us a chance. I wanted to hear this. I wanted to believe it. Part of me still felt my heart beat in sync with her words, but another part of me was torn apart by the image of her with him. Every moment replayed in my mind like a broken record. Her in our bed, her with someone else, her betrayal. And I realized I could never go back to the person I was. I had changed. The trust we had, the safety I once felt, was shattered. I didn't know if there was any hope left in me to rebuild this. But one thing was clear, we were no longer the same people we had been. The silence in the room grew heavier, thick like a blanket I couldn't shake off. I could hear the clock ticking in the background, the sound growing louder as the weight of the moment pressed down on me. I couldn't say yes, but I couldn't say no either. Stay for him. Stay for us. For Ethan. But was that enough? Could I live in this house, with these memories, knowing what had happened? Could I forgive her, let go of the hurt, and rebuild a life with the person who had betrayed me? Would I ever be able to trust her again? Was love enough to fix this? My thoughts were interrupted by a call. The phone screen lit up with my brother's name. It seemed like I was looking for an escape. And it was him, my brother, who had always been my anchor, the one who could offer clarity when everything around me was clouded. I picked up, my hands shaking slightly, unsure of what I would say. "Can you hear me?" he began, his voice as familiar as ever, almost light, despite everything going on in my life. "Are you back with her?" I stood there for a moment, lost in thought, looking at Amanda. She was still gazing at me, waiting for an answer. "I don't know what to do, Joe. I don't know if I can forgive her for what she did. She betrayed me, and I feel like all those years we spent together are slipping through my fingers like sand. I don't know if I can ever feel the same about her again." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then he spoke again, quieter this time. "Are you willing to throw all of that away? Are you willing to lose everything because of a mistake? She made one, but mistakes can be fixed. You have to decide if it's worth fixing." His words lingered in my mind even after the call ended. Could we really rebuild what had been broken? Could we start over? Part of me wanted to say no, to walk away from the pain, from the betrayal. But another part of me, the part that loved her, couldn't let go so easily. I turned back to Amanda. She sat there, still and quiet, but her eyes were full of hope, of desperation, as though I was the only thing holding her up. I could feel the tension in the room, thick enough to cut through. The weight of what I was about to say, the weight of this decision, felt like an anchor, pulling me deeper into the unknown. I knew that no matter what I chose, it wouldn't be easy. I could feel my chest tighten. "I don't know if I can forgive you," I thought. "But maybe for him. I don't know if I can go back to what we were." I whispered, my voice heavy with uncertainty. "I don't know if I can ever feel the same way about you again." Her face fell, the light in her eyes dimming for a moment. But she didn't look away. She didn't give up. She was still there, still hoping. "You don't have to forgive me right away," she said softly, almost pleading. "I just need you to try. For Ethan, for us. Please." I stood there, my heart torn in two. On one side, I felt the pull of what we had, the love, the family we had built. On the other, there was the bitter sting of betrayal, the shattered pieces of my trust. Could I rebuild this? Could we start fresh? I thought of Ethan, sleeping soundly at my sister's house, unaware of the storm tearing through our lives. Could I really put him through a broken family? Could I take him away from his mother, from the life we built together? And yet, the pain of what had happened felt insurmountable. How could I live with her again? Could I ever be the same man, the same husband that I was before? Then something shifted inside me. A quiet voice, deep within, reminded me of what really mattered. Ethan. I looked at Amanda, and for the first time in what felt like weeks, I saw the woman I once loved, the woman who had been my partner, the woman who was still fighting to keep us together. I made my choice. I'm staying, but it won't be easy. And I can't promise that I'll ever trust you the way I did. I can't promise that things will be the same. I could feel my heart breaking as I spoke, but I knew it was the right thing to do. For Ethan, for our family, for the chance to heal. Amanda's eyes filled with tears. I'll do whatever it takes, she whispered. I love you, Matt. I nodded slowly, though I wasn't sure if I could ever love her the same way again. But we had a chance to rebuild, to try again. I turned and walked toward the door, the weight of the decision still heavy on my shoulders. As I opened it, I looked back at her one last time, wondering if we could truly make this work. The path ahead was unclear, but one thing was certain: we had to try. This decision, this moment of choice, left me with more questions than answers. Could we make it? Could I forgive her? Could I ever truly trust her again? But for the first time in a long while, I had hope. It wasn't much, but it was something, a glimmer. And that was enough for now.